I took a look at how many people had signed up, so we do expect to run pretty long. If you don't have to take up all the 3 minutes, that would be courteous to the other people who wish to speak. Once we're done going through the list, we will go towards a conclusion of the public hearing. For those of you who haven't signed up yet, we will have public participation at our regular meeting, which will follow this one. We'll allow about 30 minutes for that. So if you haven't signed up yet, there'll be one more opportunity for you to do so in the back. So for now, and again, once again, please, I will be timing the 3 minutes. I'll provide a gentle reminder when that's up to close your comments. Please be courteous of all the people in back of you who wish to speak. First on the list, we'll call Jill Russell. The floor is yours.
Good evening, my name is Jill Russell. I'm a Danbury resident and an employee of the Danbury school system. I live at 17 Lake Avenue, and I've been a music teacher in the school system since 2003. I'm speaking on behalf of the Unified Arts programs and curriculums at Broadview Middle School and Rogers Park Middle Schools. Rather than overwhelm you with data and research which supports all academic areas in student learning in visual art, tech ed, and family consumer science, I would like you to imagine what a middle school student's school day will actually look like should these changes go through next year. Please close your eyes and picture yourself as a middle school student. Next year, the only creative outlet you will receive is through physical education and music class. Should you not be able to enroll in tech ed, family consumer science, and visual art, what was once an opportunity to tap into the creative parts of your brain and begin to make decisions of careers and talents that will impact your adult lives is now a day that has less time for the opportunity to use your imaginations. And I have to question, as an educator, if this will truly benefit our students. We as a district and community are focused on creating 21st century learners and children who will become adults and be responsible for our world in the next 10, 20, and 30 years. I ask you to think about what that world will look like without today's children having opportunities to prepare them to build, invent, or even create a new invention or system, as they have these opportunities now, and then be able to move our world without these skills into the 22nd century. The children in the Danbury school system are our future, and they will be in charge of the world when they become the next generation. I urge you to take the time to visit the Unified Arts classrooms in the middle schools. I urge you to experience what our students experience each and every day. The indescribable amount of learning our students are exposed to will help shape their adult lives. And I encourage you to recognize the importance of a comprehensive Unified Arts program as an integral part of every student's education. I challenge you to find a viable reason why these curriculums should be wiped out of our school system. And I cannot imagine that after you have taken the time to experience a middle school's exploratory Unified Arts experience, that you will be able to find a justified reason to not keep the Unified Arts programs and curriculums in our school system. Quickly, I'd like to end with a few words that were adopted by the Board of Education on October 14, 2009. And on behalf of our students, it reads, "We believe that children are our first priority and that all educational decisions must be made in their best interest and should be made based upon solid educational research, the best available evidence, and validating experiences. Please remember us when it comes time to make those decisions that will impact our students in the years to come." Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Russell, for participating. Next is Marianne Kukursky. If I didn't butcher your name.
As Marianne's coming up, just so you know, because we want to capture these as questions, this is what I just did with Jill's comments. Do we really have to make significant cuts to the fine and applied arts, parentheses, art, music, family, and consumer science, and technology education in the middle schools?
My name is Marianne Sikorsky, and I live at 3 Regal Drive in Danbury. As I've already addressed this board before, I don't wish to repeat anything already stated about the value of the following programs at the middle schools: world language, technology education, family and consumer science, art, music, and physical education. Nor am I speaking this evening to save my job, because even though my position might be eliminated, I will not be losing my job. I am speaking instead because I am so concerned about the future of the Danbury public school system. I'm certain that we all agree that your mission as our Board of Education is to ensure that all of the children of Danbury receive the finest, most complete, and well-rounded education at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. It is certainly understood that due to the difficult financial circumstances that we are all experiencing, that you have some tough decisions to make. Should not those decisions be those that least impact the students directly? If we examine the proposed budget cuts more closely, we see that a very large amount needs to be set aside for unemployment compensation, over $500,000. That represents almost half of the money needed to keep the programs running in the schools. Thus, the savings actually realized will not be nearly worth the negative impact on the children. I have here a sheet which diagrams our Danbury educational system. It starts, of course, at the top with you, the Board of Education, and continues down with Dr. Sal, our superintendent, Dr. Glass, and Dr. Diluski, and all of the other various administrators here in Danbury. During these tough times, difficult decisions must be made. For example, which of these two choices directly impacts students more? The elimination of the entire technology education program at both middle schools, or the elimination of an administrator such as the administrator of special projects. Certainly I'm not referring when I say administrator to any principals or vice principals in any of the schools. Which has more direct impact on our students? An instructional coach or the entire middle school family and consumer science program? I also have here a book which was distributed to all of the approximately 800 teachers in Danbury. It's entitled Common Formative Assessments. The cost per book is somewhere around $30, although I'm not certain how much was actually paid for, how much was actually paid for the text, nor by whom these books were paid. Certainly much stress, as Dr. Glass stated, is being placed upon Danbury by the No Child Left Behind legislation. Nevertheless, the taxpayers in Danbury are paying taxes for the best education possible for all of Danbury's children. Please re-examine the budget and prioritize all items according to their direct impact on the children.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, my name is Terry McCarthy. I'm a parent of 2 Millbridge students. First, I'd like to take a moment to thank you for all your time and hard work. Unfortunately, I'm going to ask you to reconsider the closing of Millbridge Intermediate. I know most parents think closing Millbridge is a good idea, but that's because it's not their child's school. If we start closing elementary schools and sending our students across town and dumping them in another school for 2 years, we are sending them a clear message that we do not care about their education or safety. To most people, Millbridge is just a building, but to the students and teachers, it's so much more. To my children, it's their second home. It's a place where they feel safe and secure. Millbridge is a school cited for improvement. How can our MRI students improve their scores if they're being sent to an unfamiliar school further away and coming in at a disadvantage to the King Street students that have been there since kindergarten? Currently, my son is one of 90 students in MRI. If he goes to King Street, what will he be, one of 180 students? How is anyone going to get to know his learning needs in 10 months that he's there? I am very concerned about his education. My son has been a struggling reader since first grade. He is finally holding his own in fourth grade, and that is because of the dedicated and caring staff at MRI. What will happen next year when class size goes up in his new school with new teachers? I've also heard that Head Start is having work done in the preschool wing through a grant to accommodate an infant program. Isn't the school supposed to be turned into the STEM program? Who is going to pay for the changes to make it back to a middle school? And another question, if Danbury is going to redistrict, why are we making our current 3rd and 4th grade students go to King Street? Realistically, they could be in a different school each year from grade 2nd through grade 6. Isn't consistency the key to a solid education? And what about Millbridge Primary? The school is set up with 3 pods, not 4. Where are the 3rd grade classes going? Maybe maybe 1 or 2 third-grade classes can be housed in each pod. But what about the class sizes? In grades K through 3, students learn to read, and in grades 4 and up, they read to learn. Studies have shown that smaller class sizes are the key to success in schools. Let's say there are 28 students in my daughter's first grade class during her 30-minute period of reading workshop. That means she gets 1 minute of help a day, or 5 minutes of help every 6 days. How can this improve our CMT scores? Research has also shown that students not reading on grade level by 3rd grade will always be struggling readers. Research has also shown that early intervention in smaller class sizes is the key to education. So with the money spent in elementary schools, we should see a payoff in the middle and high school years. The dropout rate should improve if we invest in a solid education. Before you decide to post MRI, I ask all of you to take 20 minutes to walk through the halls of MRI and see the artwork hanging on the walls, to feel the excitement and learning in the school. But most of all, I ask you to speak to the students and teachers about MRI. Watch the way the teachers and students interact with each other. That's a love and a respect no one can fake. Then take a walk over to the primary school and see the challenges they are facing trying to add another grade. I beg you, do not close my kids' school. Education is the #1 priority, and education is about the students and the teachers. Let's not forget that. Thank you very much.
I'm a parent of Danbury. I have a child at King Street and another child at the Magnet School. But I'm also a teacher in another state. And there are some questions I have to propose to the board. With the proposal of teacher cuts, what will be the average class size? The ratio of teacher-student greatly affects achievement. It is shown and proven. If there is a King Street-Mill Ridge merger, how will the students get phys ed, art, and music with an extra grade added to that school? There is no room in the day for the children to receive these specials. KSP has open classrooms. I actually cannot wait till my child goes to 3rd grade. I would love for there to be a wall. If you have ever walked through the school, you're walking through their classrooms. And it's disruptive. My next question is, Mill Ridge is a Title I school. Who will receive the funding if this merger goes through? And how will you backfill the supplies that were purchased with the Title Fund money now that the children, if they do go through 4th, 5th, to King Street? Where are the supplies going to come from, since King Street does not get that money? And also with the elimination of full-day kindergarten, it's unacceptable. 9 years when we moved to the city of Danbury, I actually emailed the superintendent and said, by the time my children come to kindergarten, will they get full day? I got the response, yes, they will. Well, I'm still waiting. I was lucky enough that one child got into the magnet school and received full day, and the other one was on the lottery and got full day. But most parents aren't lucky. And as you can see now, unfortunately, if a child is not reading by the end of K, they have a below grade level. So something needs to be done.
Hello, my name is Carrie Johnston. I live at 23 Indiana Head Road. I'm a Danbury resident and a graduate of the Danbury Public Schools. I have 2 children in the Danbury Public Schools. Madeline is in 1st grade and Aiden is in 2nd grade. I am outraged at the possible scenarios that will affect my children's future education. Now, I'm no spring chicken, and I have full-day kindergarten. Both of my children were lucky enough to have full-day kindergarten and have thrived because of a critical educational foundation. I know, I don't think, I know it is in the best interest of the Danbury children to not lose any of the full-day kindergartens. In the 1980s, Danbury thought it was important enough to have home economics. I remember the hot chocolate and the coffee cake that Mrs. Gardner had me make. I remember the recipe. I still have my apple pillow with the little worm on it. I want my children, Aiden and Madeline, to have those experiences. Please, please do not let them miss out on that. I know that tech ed is way more involved than just sewing and cooking that I have. And now you're asking my children to take a step back from the basics that were offered to me. And please, don't even get me started on losing foreign languages. It's 2010. How can we prepare our kids for the future when you're not even giving them what I had 30 years ago?
I spent 8 years as a public school, middle school teacher, and I'm now teaching at Quinnipiac University. Next year, 2 of my 3 children will be at Rogers Park, and my youngest will quite possibly have to move from MRI to the King Street School. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of the teachers at both Millridge schools for all of their hard work with my children. And I want to be on the record as saying that I don't want any person who works for the city of Danbury to lose their jobs in this terrible economy. However, I can't help feeling that the most severe impact on these proposed cuts will be on our middle school students. Eliminating unified arts and world languages will most likely result in every middle schooler sitting in study hall for at least 40 minutes a day. As a former middle school teacher, I can tell you that study halls are an educational dead zone. When I started teaching middle school, I was an English teacher, and I thought, those big 4 academic subjects were the most important, and all the rest of the stuff was frills. But after a couple of years teaching middle school, I realized that this was wrong, because middle school students have a lot of energy, and they need to be kept busy. And they are a lot sharper on all their subjects when they have the opportunity to use all the parts of their brain. So I would urge you not to look at these programs as a frill. If we are going to prepare students for a global economy, I cannot see how instruction in a foreign language can be regarded as an extra either. Add that to the fact that we have a lovely magnet school. One of the centerpieces of its curriculum is foreign language instruction. And if we cut out foreign language instruction opportunities altogether at the middle school level, what is the point of that magnet school? I want to say thank you for your hard work. You guys usually bear the brunt of public discontent. I want you to know I express my discontent also to the City Council, and it is my great hope that both you and the City Council can meet somewhere in the middle here. Thank you.
Chair calls Kim.
So everybody that's come up here tonight already has really made all the most impactful statements that I think really need to be made. So as I was listening to everybody, I tried to edit mine down, and I'll try to be brief because you kind of already heard it all. Melinda Scott, I am a 3rd grade teacher still at Stobby Rough, and at the last meeting, you recall, I urged you to go back into the budget and look more closely at those individual line items to really try and find those additional funds to keep teachers in the classroom. I do fully understand that over $2 million is not going to be miraculously found, but I do know that significant amounts of money can be found. It's the small things in life that count. I believe that wholeheartedly. And any money that can be reallocated counts. Any job preserved counts. So please look at the small things. For example, the postage to mail staff direct deposit slips home again. Will this alone save a teacher? Of course not. But this is only one of the small things that could be found. Our line item for fuel in the district is very large. Perhaps by regulating our heating system, much needed money would not be drifting out the window when the temperature rises to over 80 degrees. And the window must be open, allowing that heat to all escape, therefore the money as well. This does not just happen in one room or one school, it occurs in multiple locations, as I think you've heard. Dr. Pascarella asked for our patience while he and the board worked together through this process. So we now are asking for your patience and diligence and to spend the time that we think is necessary to keep teachers in the classroom and to keep well-rounded program experiences place for our children. Because after all, that's what it's all about.
It's been an interesting adventure speaking to members of the Board of Education, the County Council, people at the district office, and at Town Hall in order to come as close as I possibly could to understanding the proposed budget cuts. Although at times I feel like my head would explode from all the information I amassed, I felt confident that my comments to you are not that of a disgruntled, ranting parent rather an educated citizen. My child is slated to start kindergarten next year. And I'm very disheartened that we're looking to cut full-day kindergarten. So my questions to the board are, with the state-mandated benchmarks being raised and the curriculum becoming more intense, you're taking paraprofessionals out of the classroom and leaving one teacher in charge to bring together children from different educational backgrounds, children who have been in preschool and children who've never opened up a book before, and still somehow get them on reading level to enter first grade, which, if it's a half a day, there is no remedial help available to these students because there's no time. The state of Connecticut, from my understanding from our PTO meeting, has decided that substantially deficient children in reading are now going to be required to attend a program at the end of August, a summer school program. Who pays for that? If we put the money back into the schools during the year, we wouldn't have to worry about that. What happens when there's school delays? Now our already shortened days to fit this curriculum is now even shorter to get these children to learn where they need to be. What about the ESL classes? With the reduced time in their class, we're now looking at a potential financial burden beyond the third grade when they need to be to do CMTs. My question also is, why is full-day kindergarten not being cut in the magnet school? I feel like my child is being discriminated against because there's not enough seats for him to be in the magnet school. One of the line items on the budget I found really interesting was the Head Start program. So I made a few calls to make myself understand it. The city, the general city budget gives $400,000 to Head Start. $214,000 is further allocated through the city, and the school board, this Board of Education, is allocating about $550,000 to Head Start, which is an increase of about $150,000 over last year. While I agree that it's probably a very valid and worthwhile cause, our schools are suffering because of it, and we just can't keep paying and taking unlimited number of children into this program at the detriment to the education of our children. Also, out-of-district tuition has increased from $165,000 to $400,000. And I understand that there are children that have special needs that need to be educated elsewhere. But what I've also found out is the money that the city of Danbury is receiving for educating children from other districts doesn't go back into the school budget, it goes back into the city budget. That money needs to come back into the school budget.
Thank you.